granniopteryx, granniopteryx. She knows the truth, she's linking every link.
Hello. Since I have started talking about Jason Arday and the rubbish he was coming out with, and generally talking about the degradation of the English language, which always offends me, as well as the cheating that's going on of students who go to university thinking they're going to get an education and are passed off with, well, I'm going to use a naughty word here. Just a minute, I'm bringing in another page. An ex-post by somebody called Max Klinger. I'm sure he doesn't mind me naming him. I studied in the academic department at Cambridge, he says, that later employed Jason Arday. Now that's interesting because this was before Jason Arday was employed there, which in itself tells you what Cambridge has descended to. And then he says, here's just some of the crap I learnt. For one module, I wrote a lengthy essay about how cultural products like kids' cartoons and jazz songs serve as instruments of capitalist oppression. I got a top mark on that paper despite knowing at the time that I was essentially regurgitating complete crap. So this guy had not gone to university to learn how to think. He had learnt how to reproduce, in his words, crap. And that was what he'd learnt. Is this what you go to university for? This is the whole article, if you want to take a look at it. I studied in Jason Arday's department at Cambridge. So that's the education department, the one that subsequently did employ Jason Arday. Here's the crap I was taught. And it's on maxthinks.substack.com. So you can see there was a problem here right away. And then I found this. It's Social Sciences and Humanities document. It's published by Elsevier. Elsevier, one of the, I think it's probably the oldest publishing company, continuously publishing company in the world for scientific papers. It's scarcely believable that Elsevier would have published this. So I'm going to read you something from here and just go through it a little bit. But I'll return now to what I started with. The responses to my various videos that I've made recently about the way words are being stripped of their meaning and grammar is being sloppily used. I got a lot of people responding saying, I know my grammar's not good, but, or yeah, I'm not that good at writing, but, that sort of thing. Look, there are some people who are professional writers who get everything spot on. Well, most of the time. I'm always, I am less critical of people's grammar when they're talking than when they're writing, because of course when you're writing you have more time to think about things. So I don't apply the rules right across the board, but when somebody says to me, well, I'm not that good at writing, or I don't know that much grammar, no, that is not the point. The best advice I can give anybody about what they're doing when they're writing is not to be ashamed of the way they write, but to look at what they write and read it aloud and listen to yourself as if you were somebody else listening to you. And then analyze to yourself. And it's an easy habit to acquire. If you've not been taught to do that, it's going to take a bit of time. But listening to what you are saying on the paper, reading it out and listening to it is really, that's all that good grammar is. And all that good writing is. And if you look at it and you think, now, if I were not me, would that be as clear to me, not me, as it is to me, me? I hope you understand that. And that's all you have to do. There are some like grammatical little sophistications that you might miss. That's nothing to be ashamed of. But what is to be ashamed of is if you put something down on paper that is not understandable. I have heard it said that an intelligent person, a clever person, will make difficult things sound easy. A stupid person will make simple things sound difficult. Now, stupid or with an agenda, because here I don't think these people are stupid, although it's quite possible, but it does seem to me that they have an agenda. And Elsevier has published this, and Elsevier, you should be ashamed of yourself. I'm assuming that this was peer-reviewed. And it starts with this: social sciences and humanities open. I don't know what that is. Regular article, I don't know what that is either. But this is the title: Angry, Mad, Sick and Tired. Black Women in the Academy, a reflective dialogue about anti-black sexism in the academic industrial complex. Let's try and translate this, should we? First of all, how are they using the word mad here? Are they saying that they are mentally deranged? I don't think so. So what they mean is angry. That's the American use of the word mad. Angry. So what they're saying is angry, angry. And then those are the first two words of the paper, and they have already created a redundancy, a nonsense. Okay, but they wanted to add something else, so they added the same word, just with different letters. Angry, sick and tired, maybe. But they didn't need that mad. Okay, black women in the academy. What do they mean in the academy? Black women academics. Well, what's this? I've heard of the academy being talked about a lot. I don't know what it means. It means higher education. Why not say that? A reflective dialogue. Take a look at this word here, dialogue. Yeah, from logos, meaning word. Dia, meaning two. So what are they reflecting? When you have a dialogue, it is of necessity going to be reflective. So we have another redundancy here. A dialogue would be just as easy it would be easy to understand, and it would make as much sense. A reflective dialogue about anti-black sexism and here we have what you might call conflation. Sexism and racism. But anti-black sexism has created a whole new concept. Black sexism. Black sexism actually means the sexism of black people. So anti-black sexism means you are against the sexism of black people. I'm not sure that's exactly what they're saying. At least I'm not sure that's exactly what they think they're saying. And then we have this buzz thing, academic industrial complex. Well, there is something to be said for that, because universities have turned into a sort of industry. But it's not a complex. It's just an academic industry. Academic industrial complex doesn't mean anything more than an academic industry. So here we have a repetition and a repetition and a repetition, and then this anti-black sexism, which doesn't mean anything really until you've decided what they're trying to say. I'm assuming what they're trying to say, and you see here, I have to make this assumption from those words, that they're talking about black women getting more bigotry in their direction than black men, and black people generally. I just give up. You've got a sort of amorphous philosophy here, and you're not really sure, not really what they're talking about. Do you see what I mean? Now, if you, going back to me saying read it aloud to yourself, if you were reading this to yourself and looking at it the way I have just looked at it, you'd have seen that there were redundancies and imprecisions, and you would have done something about it, unless you're not thinking about the meaning of words, you're too stupid to think about the meaning of words, or you are somebody with an agenda who wants to warp the meaning of words. I am not qualified to say which one of those three this represents. But I would draw your attention to this word here, which has more than one meaning. Okay, and this is the abstract. Now, for those of you who don't know about academic papers, an abstract is a sort of boiled down overview. A boiled down overview. Well, there, you see what I mean about getting things wrong when you're talking. A bird's eye view of the paper. Okay? And this paper is a report of a conversation between two students and some sort of academic. So 3 women about how shit life is because they're black and female. Okay? So this paper captures honest and courageous intergenerational dialogue between 3 black women, 2 students and 1 faculty member. And faculty member could mean anything. It could be a teaching assistant, who reflect on their experiences in the Canadian Academy. In this, the authors reflect on issues such as imposter syndrome, which is a known thing, and it is something that people can talk about. Black humanity. I have no idea what that means. I have absolutely no idea. Because humanity could mean one or 2 things. You could talk about humanity as covering the planet. You could say human beings. Or humanity in the sense of kindness. So I'm not sure what that means there. Anti-black sexism, again, we're back to that thing I was talking about. EDI initiatives, which they later on explain as equity, diversity and inclusion. and the impact of all of these dynamics in our places of learning and work on our overall health and well-being. So all of these things, black humanity, anti-black sexism, EDI initiatives, and the way this affects our health and well-being. Towards this end, we also reflect on what keeps us motivated to continue doing the good work we are engaged in. I like the way they say it's good work. Well, good work by whose assessment? I could talk about just this paper for the next 6 months, I think. What keeps us motivated to doing the good work? They've decided it's good work. I don't know whether it is or not. They can say the work we consider important, but it's not good work until they've proved it. Let's have a look at this. This paper captures honest and courageous international. It doesn't capture anything. It's reporting it. Or it's analysing it. I haven't read the whole thing and I have no intention of doing so. It's either reporting, or it's analysing, or it's simply setting down. It's not capturing, though. You capture a picture, a snapshot, Anyway, honest and courageous intergenerational dialogue. Now, intergenerational means between generations, I suppose. And they say 3 black women, 2 students and 1 faculty member. So we already have the intergenerational idea there. That is the students and the faculty member. I'm assuming a professor or a lecturer, and not a teaching assistant who is exactly their age. So why don't they just say what this faculty member is and dump the word intergenerational, because you don't need it. Another redundancy. And who's to know it's honest and courageous until they've proved it? So this paper reports dialogue between 3 black women, 2 students and 1 lecturer, who reflect. You see, they're already giving honest and courageous. That isn't something you should be talking about in an abstract. What you are making the value judgment before you've proved the point. You can say later on, we hope this proves it was honest and courageous, but that isn't what they're saying here. Who reflect on their experiences in the Canadian Academy. I don't like that. Who reflect on their experiences in Canadian academic life, or a Canadian academic environment. Yeah. In this paper, I suppose, the authors reflect on issues such as imposter syndrome. Well, yeah, okay, reasonable. Black humanity doesn't mean anything. Anti-black sexism still doesn't mean anything. EDI initiatives, okay, I disagree with the whole EDI thing, and I actually did a video about it. If I remember, I'll, in connection with Jason Arde, I'll leave a link to that if I remember. And the impact of all of these dynamics, you don't need dynamics. And the impact of all of these, that's all you need. What's the dynamics got to do with it? It's not dynamics, imposter syndrome. I don't know what these 2 are. EDI initiative, what's the dynamic of that? Reflect on issues such as imposter syndrome, EDI initiatives, and the impact of these. That's it. In our places of learning and work on our overall health and well-being. That is a long complicated sentence that should be 2 sentences. In this, the authors reflect on issues such as imposter syndrome, burble, EDI initiatives in our places of learning, comma, or better still, semicolon, and the impact of all of these on our overall health and well-being. Do you see how that works better? Because I've got rid of several pieces of redundancy here. Towards this end, what end? There is no end. It's a paper. They reflect on issues. It's not towards this end. They don't even need that. Full stop. We also reflect on what keeps us motivated to continue doing the work we are engaged in. All right. That's just the abstract. And Elsevier, God help us, they sent this to 2 or 3 referees, not the people with the whistles, the people with the pens. And they said, is this any good? And the people with the pens looked at this and thought, yeah, that sounds good. Yep, all right, it's great. Elsevier, publish it. I don't know whether they were just trying to embarrass Elsevier. It sounds like something Helen Pluckrose might have constructed. If you haven't heard of Helen Pluckrose, she and 2 other academics wrote a series of junk papers which they submitted to various journals. They were published, or at least 4 of them were published. There were several in the pipeline, and then they were ratted out by some humorless reporter. And so those other articles weren't published. But one of them was Mein Kampf. I think it was Helen Pluckrose who took Mein Kampf, took a section of Mein Kampf, and she just substituted feminist buzzwords for various expressions Hitler was using about Jews or the master race or whatever, and it was published. Okay, so yeah, this sounds like something she might have created. To this end, to embarrass Elsevier. But no, this has not been ratted out. All right, well, there you are. That is my English lesson for today, I suppose. And don't be embarrassed about what you are writing. I can assure you, most people who are writing into me saying they're embarrassed about their lack of grammatical knowledge have never written anything as trashy as that, whereas I have had some trashy stuff from people who are absolutely confident that they're completely right. Was it Bertrand Russell who said something like, the trouble with the world is that people who are intelligent are never sure of themselves, and people who are stupid are absolutely positive that they're in the right. I've paraphrased it, something like that. Okay, that's it. Till next time. You can help my channel by subscribing and clicking the notification bell. That's quite important. And by sharing if you're so inclined. Links to my other channels and to donation methods are in the description. But the best way you can help is simply by clicking like and notify. Thank you.